So welcome to 13 Minutes, Why Every Man Needs a Why. I am honored and blessed to be in studio with Melody Hu.
Perfect
Melody.
pronunciation.
Well, I owed it to you because you had a perfect pronunciation of Baruch, and you have some pretty good Hebrew from what I understand too.
Thank you.
It's an honor to have you here. My son, Yehuda, met you. I think it was at the Entrepreneur, what's it called?
Boulder Startup Week.
Boulder Startup Week. And he texted me and said, you have to get Melody on your podcast.
That's so sweet of him.
So yeah, he's a pretty good judge of character too. And then next will be my wife's podcast. Ariella has one where she works with women. But as the name of the podcast suggests in the book, why it's called 13 Minutes, Why Every Man Needs a Why, based on a statistic that you may or may not know. But in America, every 13 minutes, a man kills himself. And I have set out on a mission, and that is to push back the clock 1 minute. Can't get rid of it, but I'd like to think we all can make an impact 1 minute. It may not sound like much, but that's 2,888 men who would choose to live this year alone. How are we going to do that? My teacher and mentor, a man named Viktor Frankl, do you know Viktor Frankl?
Yes.
Says those who have a why can bear almost any how. And the men that I believe have lost their why have lost their way. And this is a conversation where I invite good people into the studio, men and women, to learn about their why as an inspiration for men out there listening. And so here we are.
Glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So you have a lot behind the why of Melody. I gathered that doing a little research on you in the internet, and you walked in here with a whoosh of positive energy. You said, what's my Enneagram type? And I said, Enneagram 7, enthusiast, optimist, visionary. And you said,
which was
yes.
spot on.
So tell us about that. Who is this energetic ball of optimism called Melody?
So I'm going to start, and this goes right away, right? So we're all souls having a beautiful journey in our current chosen bodies on this beautiful planet. And we're here to learn, and we're here to experience, and we're here to expand our energies and learn more about each other and love. That is my fundamental belief. And this just took us right off.
No, it took us right in.
Oh, perfect. Yay.
I can tell we're not wasting any time. We're going deep.
Yay. So I am very blessed that I had that very profound experience of oneness, of how you call it, people call it filled by the Holy Spirit or Kundalini rising, whatever you call it. But I had that experience when I was 11. Now,
wow.
Yeah, so it's a blessing and a little bit of a curse in the beginning because I guess, you're not as developed. You haven't had, read, religious studies or comparative, philosophy.
Which is maybe a positive thing.
Possibly, yes. I agree. So I had that very profound experience. And, time is very nonlinear once you've tapped into these fields. And then so I can remember it like it was yesterday when I had that just amazing energy flow through me. I was like, okay, wow, I feel like I'm very much like plugged into this universal energy where all I could feel was love and joy and pure love, pure joy, and everything was connected, this oneness. I was 11.
Some people work their whole lifetime to have that.
So yeah, that was a very profound experience. And I remember I could not stop just laughing out of pure joy for an hour or two. Who knows? Time was very, nonlinear. But after that experience, it was just like, amazing. But a few months after that, of course, you have to come down a little bit from that experience, right? Because you still live in this 3D world. And few months after that, I also had the most terrifying experience in my life, until that point. So I was still 11. And I had an experience of what people call sleep paralysis, right? So I was in the middle of the night and I woke up, but, woke up inside. And then I thought it was my mother talking on the phone. It was just this chattering kind of in the far corner of the room. And I was just like, Mom, it's so late. Why are you still talking on the phone, right? And then as soon as I thought that, there was this energy that just leapt across the room onto my chest. And immediately I could not move. And I just had this, of course, my eyes were not open, and I really tried hard to open my eyes, but I had this like presence of this like really dark, scary monster kind of energy just pressing me down, and I could not breathe. I could not move like one muscle, not even an eyelid. And it was just kind of breathing on me, kind of in a very threatening way. It really felt like it was like, some sort of a predator or a monster. And I was terrified as
understandably.
Right. And then that was the first time that I had ever experienced that kind of sleep paralysis, this very scary presence entity attacking me. I won't go into the details there, but that whole sleep paralysis situation lasted 15 years until I was 26.
Off and on?
Off and on.
Yeah.
It wasn't a nightly occurrence, thank God, but it was often enough that for my entire, youth, even till today, probably, because that habit is just ingrained in my body, I'm unable to sleep on my back because I'm always scared of that experience again. So I became a side sleeper from that. Yeah. So that's kind of like the remnant of that, growing up. But glad to report that that was a whole journey. But when I was 26, I finally vanquished that.
And how did you vanquish it?
Oh, so I grew up in a pretty religious family, right?
Christian,
Protestant specifically. And, when that first happened, the first thing was like, okay, call a pastor or, as some people were like, no, this is all in your imagination. It's a nightmare. But if you have ever experienced something like this, it's not just in your imagination, because the moment that the thing leaves, it's like I'm already awake. I know, like it's as conscious as talking to you right now. So I tried praying because everyone would be like, oh, call on the name of Jesus or pray to God. And, so, yeah, I tried, of course I would try. You're terrified and you're trying to get out of that situation. Right. Yes. And then so I would do that. And sometimes it would linger for a while, even though I was praying really hard, and it would just be there. And over time, 15 years span, right? I've just developed this, I guess, capacity to see really clearly in my mind's eye, because I had to battle this, monster in all its different forms. I continue to go to church, but I continue also to kind of, I've always been very open-minded. I want to know what other people believe in, different religions, different, I just think there's something out there that's not within the confines of only one belief. I'm like, the universe is way too big for that, right? But finally, the day that I ended this 15-year torment, I held a flaming knife in my mind's eye, and it was, coming towards me, and I chopped it down right through the middle. And it was not so much as a violent act, but in a way of like, I am now stronger than you. And then so chopped it down right through the middle. That was the goodbye.
Amazing. So,
and it never came back again.
I can see why. You're spiritual badass.
I'll talk about it later.
There's a lot here. So one of the things is I'm a big fan of plant medicine done right as medicine.
This will lead right back to my next part, because I said it never came back until, and we'll go into plant medicine right after.
Well, I just want to, comment on what you said, because I was a rabbi for 20 some years.
Yes, I read.
I never connected with God. I tried. Never. Not once. 20 years. Finally, I'm like, I'm out of here, right? I got to find God. And I found plant medicine. First time, met God.
Wow.
Right? And
do you mind sharing what plant?
Yeah, no, not at all. So I'm a big fan of Kana, which is, for those listening, a naturally occurring form of MDMA, and psilocybin. And also I have met God face to face with DMT, naturally occurring. And a friend of mine who does podcasting said, always say, tell
Naturally
them
occurring.
naturally occurring. But the bottom line is, I had my sort of fiery sword moment, my version of it with DMT. And it's actually when I decided to write this book, because my father had killed himself violently, hung himself. And then under DMT, I stood under my father who was hanging and just crying for the first time in years. I couldn't cry. The message was, take me down from here by writing this book and helping men. And so I get your fiery sword moment. Now, I say all that not to turn this back on me.
No, but it's beautiful. Thank you for telling me and sharing this. Yeah.
But because some people have a natural ability to tap in to that, some people need assistance. My wife, who you're going to meet and love, she'll love you. Ariella, she's got a natural ability to tap into source spirit, and she channels. I don't. So plant medicine has helped me with that as a vehicle. But again, I'm in the presence of somebody who I can tell 11 years old is tapping into it, but also 11 years old is not prepared for it.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot there.
Yeah. Wow. I'm sorry. I didn't know about what kind of gave you the push to start writing the book. So that's beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the push or the sort of the yes. It was the yes I got from the universe, but also, again, that fiery sword moment of maybe it was the first time in a long time I wasn't running anymore. And I kind of felt that in your story too. Like Viktor Frankl says, there comes a point when we must make our defiant stand. And you just sort of draw a line and say, I'd rather be dead than to keep running. And I'm going to draw my line.
Yeah.
And so my fiery sword moment was, I'm done running from this shadows of my father, and I'm going to face it. And so again, we have that in common. But wow, okay.
I have so many questions following that.
And I can see your soul comes pouring out of your eyes.
Oh,
right?
Yeah,
That's also a gift.
I have no filter or this like shell. It's being disassembled pretty early on. So yeah,
What a gift.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I long for that ability to, and I get there, but again, for me, it's work and it's effort, and I'm always just drawn to and inspired by people who it's not effort.
I do want to comment on that because I think because of how the society, the human civilization has formed, I do think men are asked to be more internal with the emotions, right? Because at the end of the day, for quite a few millennia, you guys will have to go to the front line and kill the enemies and not break down when your friends and families and brothers are killed, or when you kill an enemy. So it's a lot. It's a lot of programming.
Yeah, I think people today are so narcissistic. Like we put our society changed, therefore what? The 50,000 years of wiring changed?
Programming, gosh.
Right? It ain't that simple. Now and as I always say, it doesn't excuse it, it explains it. Right? It doesn't excuse I want to, but be able to access emotion more. But it does explain. It's at least a part of the explanation. Yeah. Thank you for naming that.
Yeah, all the history, all the lores, all the stories, the movies, everything. You can't escape that kind of programming, right? On top of what is in the DNA.
For sure. And even to this day, I don't think most people realize, workplace deaths, like 99.9% are men, because men are in higher risk jobs. Right.
Gosh,
you look at, the high risk, and even in the military, I'm glad women are allowed in, but disproportionately, it's the men who are coming back in body bags. So, we can pretend like it's all changed.
Right.
It hasn't all changed.
No.
And so men still pay a very heavy price for it, which is why we're doing this show, to maybe reach men out there to kind of say, we see you.
I have two kids. I have a boy and a girl. They're 13 and 11. And we try to raise them the same way, right? We're not like, okay, well, you get, blue, you get pink. It wasn't like that. But there is just natural gender roles.
Mhm.
Somehow, again, you call it nature or nurture. There's just a lot that's in the programming.
Mhm.
And I see little boys. I just went to my daughter's graduation,
Mhm.
elementary school graduation this morning.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But I look at the little boys and little girls in 5th grade. They're so together
Mhm.
and there's so much harmony, and you really don't see this like gender dichotomy. They're just all playing together, and then they're so beautiful. And then so I kind of wonder, at what point do men start feeling this pressure to be men?
Mhm. Well, I mean, it's great questions, and we'll never have bumper stickers here, but we can dig in. I do think it starts to change because of testosterone and estrogen. I think that is a part of it. And, for society to say, well, just get a grip on your testosterone. Like, it's easy for you to fucking say, but like, I'm overwhelmed with this hunter's, right, focus. I mean, that's what testosterone starts to do is, men become single focused. Ariella, my wife, says to me all the time, you go hunting, even though I don't go out into the woods and bring back deer, but I'm like hunting on my computer and I can't multitask. Right. And she has a much easier time kind of navigating, talking on the phone, doing this thing. And I'll talk to her and I'm like, put it down. If you want to talk to me, put the phone down and pay attention to me. She's like, I can do 2 things at once, but I can't. So I think that, there is a lot of the chemistry that's happening in men at that point. I just did a podcast on pornography, and women tend not to become addicted to pornography or even search it out nearly at the rates of men. And you can say, well, that's society, or you can also say testosterone is like driving men to hunt something. Now, can we get them to hunt better things? Yes. Right? Can we get them to expand their field of consciousness? Yes. But it doesn't start until you say, we understand that you're like being driven by something that's inside of you.
I feel very strongly that this education and these kind of conversations should start right at puberty. And not like, oh, you're now 30 and you've, like had all these like issues and traumas you have to now deal with. If only boys would have more guidance at that exact moment of transition.
Yes.
Because I think there are a lot of resources for little girls, starting their menstrual, transitioning. And I just don't know if there's a lot of resources for little boys.
It's not even just resources. It's also honesty about, how many people I coach some women, and mostly I coach men, but I was coaching a mom who's raising a boy who's 15. And I said to her, have you talked to him about pornography? She says, no, he's not interested. Mm-hmm. Like, you keep telling yourself that.
Is she a single mom?
She's a single mom.
Okay.
And she truly believed he's not interested. Why? Because she wasn't interested at that age. I said to her, he is 100% in the lion's den by himself, sifting through porn. I just did a podcast on this. And there's porn that's relatively healthy, and there's porn that's soul destroying. And we've just dumped him off into this war zone because I counsel guys who are 25 and they say they've been surfing porn for 10 years, feeling like a dirty, lost. They're the only ones. And to your point, nobody's ever said, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what you might want to think about. You're not alone, etc. And so whether there are resources, I don't know, but whether there are people willing to have the conversation, not enough, for sure.
How can boys at that tender age of 15, let's say 13 starting, right, find you or like find answers or guidance or some sort of like, oh, I'm not alone, I'm not a weirdo?
Through having unbelievably open-minded and enlightened moms like you.
Oh.
Really?
But let's say, like they don't have any adult in their lives.
Well, but again, yes. And so first, let me speak to you because just the willingness for you to have this conversation as a man in this day and age is liberating, as opposed to, no, it's bad, it's gross, right? We don't talk about that. And so just that starting point, can we create a culture where I may be a mom and I'm not the one necessarily to have the conversation, but at least I'm open to the possibility of the conversation. Where can they have that? I mean, there are pockets out there, and there are therapists, there are coaches, there are mentors. They're not prevalent, but they're out there. But maybe just introducing them to this conversation.
Yeah.
I had this conversation with my boys when they were coming of age, and I believe it was liberating for them. I certainly didn't get this conversation, but. So coming back to Melody, see, you're a natural podcaster. You're just going to be like, asking.
I really want to know what, if you say something, I'm like, I want to know what's behind that.
Well,
like, how did that happen?
But I can feel that energy that you're just inquisitive, curious, right? And it's such a great quality to be around somebody who's curious. I think it was Walt Whitman. Something that said, don't be judgmental, be curious, or something like that. What a great way to live.
Oh, I still judge, though.
Me too. But I'm an 8, you're a 7. So the 7 energy, though, sort of like I call it the sun, solar. Now, solar is great when it's sunny out, but when it's cloudy out, it's not always the greatest source of energy. If I were to say to Melody, what are some of the clouds that block it?
Again, being a true 7, I always see any kind of clouds as, there's a silver lining, right? That's just I'm kind of wired. And also that's one of the most beautiful things my father taught me when I was, probably 12, 13. Mm. And we were, in a car, and he said, remember this line. There was a dark cloud. Every dark cloud has a silver lining. Mm-hmm. And I can't get rid of that image or that line, right, from my mind for the rest of my life. It's just so beautiful. I do. If we talk about, I'm not very I believe in astrology or I don't. It's just these are just archetypes or frames of references, but. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much, you know about that kind of whole language.
Mostly from my wife who's into it.
Okay. So I'm Pisces is my sun sign. And then I have 2 Leos in my rising and my moon. Long story short, again, these are archetypes. I don't necessarily believe, I don't consult an astrological chart every morning, right? That's not my thing. But it's kind of like the Enneagram. It's like there's a mirror that kind of resonates or that reflects. So what I want to say is that I feel deeply. I've had that, experience very early on, but at the same time, I do have this solar energy where I want to kind of, I want to, shine a little bit of light, right? Mm-hmm. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. You know that song?
I do. And I also saw you were a singer and a dancer. So it's coming out.
So that energy, when it's not harnessed, it gets a little scattered, right? So we can talk about so many things, but that's something that I've learned along the way. To see, okay, it's everything is, you can see the yin and the yang, right? Mm-hmm. So I just see, okay, I have this abundant energy where I want to reach out, but there are moments where I also take it and I need to kind of incubate.
Yeah, the work of a 7 when I'm working with 7s is to harness energy, right? Because, 360 degrees of direction is 1 degree in each direction. And it can become diffuse. It can become lost. It can become sort of, as opposed to, can we harness it to a few areas and really kind of stay with it? Yeah. Does that resonate?
That's very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's everything has a superpower or a light and a shadow and a kryptonite. And so we have to kind of just be honest about the shadow. And sometimes the shadow of the 7 is, they can, I call it avoidance. Void dance around the void, keep moving, keep going.
Never thought about that word this way.
And so avoidance is there's a void, there's a darkness, la 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 la. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to look at this silver lining, which on the one hand can be beautiful, on the other hand can degenerate into kind of a toxic positivity, right? It's we have to look at the harder things. So we, it's if you're walking, I'm only going to look at the horizon because it's beautiful. I fall into a pothole.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, not to poke holes in the
no. It resonates, and it's also my life's learning, right? Because everything you described, naturally, that's all the kind of the things that I've experienced. And it's always like, okay, what do I do? How do I try to kind of bring it in? Yeah.
So what are some of the areas you've put your attention on? If you want to do everything, you can't do everything. What are some of the sort of the areas you've put this beautiful energetic spirit on?
So meditation is something that came a little later in my conscious practice, but I grew up praying, right? But it was a very different kind of dynamic, because when you're praying, it feels in a way that you're asking a higher power. And it depends on how it's done or how you're taught. But in a way, kind of like thinking back to it, there's a little bit of like, not so much giving up your agency, but yes, right? You're kind of like, please help me with this. And then so what about what you can do, right? So once I started discovering, okay, well, that inner work that I need to do to harness my energy, it's not only asking for help, but it's also, how do I sit quietly, right? It's a little hard for a lot of sevens to like just sit quietly. Okay, sit quietly, but then really realizing that I have agency. I can decide. And it's almost like, when a lot of, people in this that are in tune, like, how do you bring that aura a little tighter to your body, or sometimes let it expand? So that I like that visual. Again, like, it's not like one way or another. Some people call it aura, some people just call it energy, whatever it is, but it's just that kind of mental visualization and exercise and discipline to say, okay, well, let's bring it closer. And at certain times you need to let it go, let it out, right? If you're performing or whatnot. But there are a lot of moments where like, okay, well, this is really helpful. This makes me feel so much more centered and grounded, and just kind of bring all that energy closer.
That's so powerful. That's a great description. And I think the work of somebody who's sevens tend to be extroverted.
Yeah.
Right. Energetically. And people misunderstand introvert and extrovert. So I'm an introvert, even though I stand on the stage for 20 years talking to 1,000 people, but it drains me. Right. So introverts can be social, but it's a draining process. Extroverts, it's like feeding off of the energy, right? And it's an outward energy. And so the work of the extrovert who's doing their work is, can I pull it in? Right. And it was Blaise Pascal who said, all of a person's problems could be solved if she would learn to sit quietly in an empty room. Right. And that's what you're saying. Can I sit quietly and bring it in? So obviously you've done a lot of work in that area.
It's really a beautiful lifelong journey. And a part of it is also that experimentation. And again, like, I just feel like that's the fun part, when you get to experiment and say, oh, well, that works for me. Or, oh, I've always been opposed to that specific method, but wait, let me try. Oh, actually, it's kind of fun. So, yeah.
And so is Christian prayer still a part of your practice?
So it's fun that you ask, because I feel like the analogy I would use is that, having grown up in a Judeo-Christian background, I just noticed that in you, because you have this amazing memory of, remembering quotes. And I'm like, well, that's the rabbi training. I'm assuming, right? But it's just like, there's something there that you are book people, right? The Judeo-Christian background. So you read a lot. You have to read a lot starting from a young age, because that's part of the religious upbringing. So I'm very grateful for having, grown up in that background, and really having the vocabulary to kind of talk into. It's a good entryway to the grander, wider, and unlimited spiritual world. But it's a great entry point for vocabulary. Now I'm also at a point in my current journey where I'm just like, I love every kind of wisdom, but I really respect them independently. I really respect the Christian findings, what they have found. I really respect everything in Judaism. I feel that there's so much light And there's a lot of, wisdom in Buddhism, in Taoism, in everything. I'm just like, I love this kind of buffet of humans experience with the, let's say, invisible, although it's the evidence is invisible all around us, but let's just call it the invisible. Yeah.
It's refreshing. It's refreshing to have this conversation. I call myself a spiritual mutt. I'm just all over the place now. And, each tradition has its superpower. I mean, each one also has its kryptonite.
Right.
But like if you look at the superpower, my friends who are, I grew up in Nebraska, not too many Jews in Nebraska, kind of looking at him. And I was very comfortable with who I was. So I was very comfortable with who they were. And I just was enamored. They're always trying to get me to convert.
To what? To Christianity?
Christianity, okay. For sure. And the standard line in growing up was, stop trying to convert me, pass the fucking basketball. Right. But I love them because they thought I was going to hell and they wanted me to believe. But that comes from a place of love. And I know I'm not going to hell. If I am, it's not for that. But I really appreciated their devout nature and their ability to talk to a personal incarnate God. Right. I mean, that's a beautiful ability. Judaism doesn't have that so well. Right. The Jewish prayer is usually not first person. It's plural. There's a we. It's a collective.
Yeah.
Which also is powerful.
Elohim.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like you pray for the community. It's more tribal in that way. Which is also powerful. But this is beautiful. And can I bring some of that here and this? And then you go to Buddhism and it's like, can I just stop with the words? Can I quiet the noise? Can I experience, the expansiveness? And so, I turn to yoga as more of like a movement body, because Judaism definitely doesn't have that. And it's like, can I experience God in the body?
Yeah.
And so to be with somebody who's on a spiritual quest to kind of grab it all, it's amazing.
Oh, it's kind of, the analogy also is kind of like different colors, right? If you're painting this masterpiece, you have to use a little bit of different colors and media even. And I feel like that is the tapestry we're building together. Now, of course, in the youth of our species, we have used those exact excuses to kill each other. But hopefully with time, we grow, we evolve to really appreciate, wow, these are so many different expressions of the source.
Do you still identify as a Christian?
There are quite a few family members of mine that are still Christian clergy, but I don't identify with any one specific religion. I just believe that we're all one. And just in that spectrum of light.
May I ask, is that how you're raising your kids?
Yes.
Yeah. So I didn't see a ring. Are you married?
I am married.
You are?
Yes. But I also use my hands a lot for different things, food, or right now I'm experimenting with candles. So I don't wear a wedding ring. Also, I just, I feel like because again of that experience very early on that, the 3D world is just, this is in a way, I don't want to say illusion because it's kind of real. If you throw a rock at me, I will get hurt. But
nobody's going to throw a rock at Melody. Maybe me, but not you.
But I just kind of like, well, this is a symbol. Like a lot of things are symbols. Yeah.
I was just curious. So are you and what's your husband's name?
Ben.
Are you guys on the same page spiritually?
I think so, yeah. And I've learned from him as well because he was brought up Catholic, but, in a traditional way. So that means like they go to, the mess for, Easter or Christmas, but, and then the kids are kind of forced to do their, I don't know what it's called again. It's like a Catholic thing. But he also just kind of like, this is, we're all one, we're all connected. But again, I think it's beautiful. It is a tapestry. I think in a world where you are, for example, like in a, I'm not going to name names, but in certain religions or certain government structures where you cannot have any religion, I think that is a very terrifying way to impose that to a people.
It's also been the most destructive in human history.
Oh gosh, yes.
Right? I mean, if you look at the greatest damage done. It hasn't been by religion. It's been by non-religion.
So I think trying to convince everyone else that this religion is the right one, it's a little scary. And trying to convince everyone there's no such thing as God and no one should have religion, that's also very scary. So I just really want to rejoice in, yeah, this is what you believe right now in your journey, because people also change during their lifetime. Which is like, I just want to celebrate that. As long as you don't say, okay, you have to believe this, otherwise I'll kill you, right? That's just like, oh, really? Which God would want to do that?
So I run men's groups called men's peer groups. And maybe I'm going to get Ben in one. Are you guys in the area?
He is.
Oh,
yes.
cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, we have a principle. You don't tell another, in this case, another man what to do. I can't know your journey. I can't, we call it shoulding all over people. You don't should on somebody. But you experience share. This has been my experience, right? And that's what you're describing, right? Like, this is my experience and I want to be around other people and their experience. But to tell somebody that should be your Melody's experience, doesn't work.
Also, we have kids. We know that never works, right?
Actually, probably does the opposite,
right?
And your kid's a little weight,
right?
You know?
Yeah.
So,
oh, don't go clean the dishes.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, well, going down a different tangent. So I want to come back to Melody. So you have this energy. We talked about 360s, or your natural default setting, go everything all the time, everywhere, harnessing it, putting it on a few areas. What are some other areas that are blessed by Melody's beautiful energy?
Oh, made my day. Being able to talk very openly about my journey through the invisible, to be able to say this is still quite recent. Because, like, you grow up, and I don't know how old you are, but when I was growing
way older
up,
than
okay,
you.
oh, really? You think? You might be wrong. But growing up, there's a lot of just kind of like, oh, no, you talk about science and STEM, whatever, right? So I don't know. I feel like there's definitely being a clear shift in our collective consciousness that there's more conversations about the spiritual or the non-material. It feels more liberating nowadays to talk about it versus when I was a child. In a like secular world, of course, in everyone's religious pockets, you can talk all about this, right? But in a shared
this, I mean,
okay, well, yeah. maybe not.
I mean, spirituality, like telling people about, your experience with the sword, the fiery sword, like maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, no. I mean, growing up in a religious family, and I've also had to deal with a lot of the taboos, right? Like, you cannot do this. Well, that is the devil's work, right? Things like that. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me, or maybe I am sensing like a collective more willingness or openness to have these conversations. I think definitely social media, YouTube has fostered that, right? At least it's easier to find those pockets. Whereas before the World Wide Web, how are you going to find people that share the same beliefs, or how are you going to find your tribe? It wasn't as easy.
No, for sure not.
Yeah.
It's the world's more egalitarian in that way. The people have access to information.
Yeah.
Power structures are coming down a bit. But with that, it's like, what's going to replace them? And that's where
the power structure?
Yeah. I mean, the different structures that are coming down, which is in some ways great, but something's got to fill the vacuum. And you see a sort of a nihilistic meaninglessness, right? Hopelessness, despair with the kind of a younger generation. And we've got to be very conscientious to replace them with something that's good. And, and what you're describing is beautiful. It sounds very good.
So in certain species, animal species, you have a clear leader. And then you have, let's say, the queen bee and the worker bees. That is a very surface level of looking at that society, right? That you have, the queen bee is definitely the one in power, and then the worker bees are, like slaves. But it's also about the lens from which we look at that and interpret it. Is that, well, actually, maybe the queen bee is the servant, right? She has to just keep on making babies, which is a lot of work, and the worker bees get to live this pretty, like, just, lots of freedom. You get to fly around and go collect, So I think there's a lens about it too. And I think that's a great conversation. That's like a whole other tangent too, is that the supposed power structure. And something that I learned from my Christian upbringing is Jesus is the servant God or the servant king, right? That was very ingrained in, like traditional Christianity, is that this is God in human flesh, but he's going around and washing people's feet. He's going around and serving. He's not saying, worship me. He's more, he's the servant. So I wonder if that is a nugget that I really appreciate from Christianity. There's a lot of issues too, again, like kryptonite, right? But then that is a beautiful nugget. I think that if you are placed in a leadership position and what you keep first and foremost is this accountability to God or the higher power, that I am chosen as the servant of the people. And you lead from that point of humility and service. That's a beautiful structure of power.
I'm a big fan of not rejecting what was, but extracting what is good from it and evolving it. I hear the talk of patriarchy. Patriarchy is bad, right? I don't even know what that means, but patriarchy, my definition, is a vertical hierarchical system, right? Where there's an authority structure. The last thing I want is my surgeon to be consulting with everybody, like the person cleaning up and the nurses, about where to cut.
Yeah.
Right? There's a hierarchy that needs to happen in certain things. The airline pilot, I want to have hierarchy. The military, I want to have hierarchy. And so that's a patriarchy. And somehow it's gotten this rap of, well, get it out of here versus can we evolve it?
I really agree, because I think there's a lot of, it's all about what lens you're seeing things from, right? And I really believe that, yes, if you have more power in any kind of human structure or society, the king is the first one that the enemies want to shoot, right?
Or to die of a heart attack because he's got so much pressure.
Right. So that is a big responsibility. And if you, do you want to be the president of the United States? I'm asking you really. Like, do you?
Absolutely not.
Right? Because you know how freaking big of a responsibility and how big of a target you will become.
That's why I left being a rabbi, by the way, for this very reason.
Why?
Because I didn't want to be at this top of this hierarchical system where I was the bearer of projections of everybody for everything. Now, it came with great power.
Power comes with great responsibilities.
But I got to this point where I don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not worth it.
It's a lot of, what is the word? Existential burden to put on someone, right? Oh, you have to have the right answers, right? It's, oh, wow, really? That's hard.
and no matter how hard you try, it's hard to fend it off, right? It's hard to not believe that it's who I am, and you try and it keep putting it on you, and you start to lose your identity in the process. The queen bee or whatever, the hierarchical system, people pay a price at the top.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Now, and again, it's like, do we get rid of it? We need it. We need matriarchy. We need the horizontal, right? The inclusive as well. So why does it have to be to make it bad to get rid of it versus no, let's include it into also, right, a healthier version?
The way I see it is just that, okay, well, with a little bit of just, experience, you're like, well, that person wants to be the leader. Good luck, because we all know how hard it's going to be. Right. So I just think that if that really comes from a place of I want to serve others, that makes a great leader. If it comes from I want all the glory, I want pure power, I want to tell people what to do, I want to be able to, have no accountability. Oh, that's pretty scary.
It is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're taking on the world's problems here. What's your podcast going to be on?
I have no idea. We'll see.
You don't have a call for a particular area? Because, I can see you could talk on a lot of topics for sure.
I guess that's part of the seventh thing, right? Because I can go off every direction now, which like said, what's going to be the main theme?
But that's a good conversation. You go into a coffee date with a friend and say, okay, here's the agenda, right? That really kills the vibe. That's a board meeting. Nobody likes board meetings. So, but I do feel like I get to help you craft your podcast.
Right now on your podcast?
No, but I do feel like part of your superpower is to go into a space and to kind of raise the vibration, right? It does feel like I'm thinking at a higher level. I want to be a part of a evolving conversation. Like there's an aspirational quality in being in a conversation with you.
I will take that in and reflect on that.
So, can you bring people into hard conversations and really it's a big, the word I keep hearing is yes.
Huh.
Right. And I think it was Wayne Dyer who said, you can learn a lot by words, and yes is an open syllable. No is a closed syllable, and it's energetic, right? No is kind of a shut down thing. But even if you don't agree with me, you've said yes and
so far I feel like I've agreed with you on everything, but
even if you don't, I feel like I want more. I want to kind of follow the thread of this and play it out. So I don't know. I think we're going to create a podcast called like The Infinite Yes or something like that. I don't know.
Let's see what happens. I'm going to let it ferment and marinate a little bit.
See, eights don't they don't marinate. We just we go. So thank you for putting me in my place.
But that's fun. I also want to kind of harness that special superpower to see how do you just kind of get that?
Enneagram 8 energy, my energy is fire, ready, aim, which is really great sometimes because you get a lot of shit done. And, I'm really good at firefighting, putting out fires. But when it's status quo, I end up starting fires, right? I end up creating problems, or fire, ready, aim. Maybe I should have ready, aim, fire on that one. So my work is to kind of slow it down. 7 and 8 aren't worlds apart in that way. We're both high energy on the Enneagram. So I don't think either one of us can go wrong by.
What's your wife?
My wife is an Enneagram 4, which is the individualist, the artist. We have all of these energies in us. By the way, Ben will be interested because it comes from Catholicism, probably 2,000 years old, and really gets into Catholic mysticism. But 4 is sort of the artist, the artistic expression. We have all of these within us. And my guess is if when we do the assessment, I'm going to send you one and then we'll talk it through. You have a lot of 4 in you. It's expressive, it's artist, it's deep emotional reservoir. So my guess is you think like a 7, that's a thinking type. You feel like a 4, because you also kind of remind me of her. And so, but that's can I express the ineffable?
What a beautiful thought.
A lot of artists are 4s. I saw you have a lot of art in your bio and your background. Tell me about that.
Oh, again, this is all a journey of exploration and knowing thyself. But part of, again, going back to 11, right? How do I express everything I felt? And knowing that every expression, whether it's science or arts or performing arts or even accounting, is one way of expressing a certain life energy. And I just found, the performing arts to be truly easy, just naturally to go into, to channel different energies. Yeah.
I have a son who's a dancer.
Oh, that's so great.
He's a pre-professional dancer. He's 15, so he's been doing it for 10 years. But I see him, he's dyslexic, so he struggles in one setting. And he gets to this other where he gets to express that piece of him that gets shut down over there. And so I hear what you're saying, and I see it all the time in him.
It's beautiful. And, we talk about embodiment, right? Because, okay, so now I'm in this meat suit. And one of the coolest things that you get to do as a human in flesh and bone is to move, however that might be. I don't know, tennis, golf, dance. Dance is really a physical discipline that challenges you to really move in kind of impossible ways. You're playing with physics, like when you're spinning, how is that happening? Like you have the whole mass balancing on like, like two metatarsals, and the feeling like dancers are very trained to sense the proprioception, the kind of like, like just, and it's like, wow, well, if you get to do this from a pure energy and now get to be embodied in a human casing, it's kind of cool to be able to you see babies, how they always do this.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is so miraculous.
Yeah.
Like from how do you go from energy to the neurons firing to control the motor functions and do this?
So interesting. I haven't thought about this in a long time, but in the Bible, most of the Bible or the Torah revolves around the building of the tabernacle, the mikdash, the temple. It's weird. It's like 3/5 of the Bible. I mean, it's the number one topic.
So specific.
So
right?
specific.
All the measurements.
The
materials.
It's just so specific. But who's chosen to kind of lead this charge? His name is Bezalel, and he's the artist. And in many ways, the artist is the most important figure in the entire Torah, not Moses, the artist, Bezalel. And it's interesting because the Hebrew word is Betzel, is in the shadow is El, and in the shadows is God. And so artists take like these shadows and they bring God out of the shadows, right? And I can feel that energy with you. I see it in my son. Some people just have that capacity. Well, in many ways, I feel like returning full circle to your 11-year-old self. In some ways, I feel like that's what we're kind of talking about today, like giving voice to the shadows out of that. I don't know. Is that crazy?
No, I think again, it's just this evolving journey of the pendulum, the yin and the yang, the positive, negative, the maternal, the paternal. Yes, duality, but ultimately everything kind of blends as one. But we do have to go explore in the opposites. It's fun. Speaking like a true 7.
Well, it's fun until a deity is sitting on your chest wanting to crush you.
I don't know if it was a deity. I wouldn't call it a deity, but an entity, some sort of entity. But I love the fact that I think, it's such a gift that we get to be here, and especially right now. And like people talk about, what is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of life for you?
You're asking me?
Well, yeah, what is your answer right now?
There is no meaning of life. Viktor Frankl would say there's the meaning of your life and my life. And that's kind of coming full circle, because my meaning, my why, my purpose is uniquely mine. And if I don't realize it, it will never be realized. Like,
what is it?
Well, it's evolving for sure, and it's, nuanced. But if I'm going to kind of boil it down into a talking point, it's something I say every day. I'll share it with you. I don't always share it, but it's long. It kind of overwhelms some people. I started saying this after my father killed himself. I needed.
How old were you?
So I was 34. I was older, but my grandmother killed herself when I was 15, and that set this whole thing in motion. So for me, it really began when I was 15, because I watched my father descend over the next 20 years and ultimately killing himself. And I was afraid I was going to be number 3, generation 3. I just felt compelled to kind of break a soul contract somehow. And so I stopped praying a long time ago. At least I stopped praying the Jewish prayers. Jews pray 3 times a day, but I needed something to fill the void. I knew I needed to replace it with my thing. So I developed this. I am Baruch HaLevi, and I am the one. I have been chosen by you to be an example of what is possible. My purpose for being here is to serve, protect, provide for, honor, and love my wife, my children, my family, my friends, my men, my community, my country, my people. My mission while here is to inspire others through speaking, writing, teaching, guiding, leading them down a path of vision, integrity, courage, compassion, honor, hope, responsibility, meaning, and truth. I will fear no man, I will fear no woman, I will fear no thing, and nothing will stand between me, fulfilling my purpose, realizing my mission, manifesting my dreams, transforming them into my reality. I am the warrior of body, mind, and spirit. I am the warrior Jew. I will warrior through. That's my why.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks for receiving it.
Wow.
So I say that 3 times a day, and it helps orient me when I feel lost in the chaos. So that's what I keep coming back to. This is an amazing podcast episode, probably one of my favorites ever.
Thank you.
It's an honor and privilege to have you. I know this is the beginning, not the end. Regardless of whether you do a podcast, you're coming back on mine. And you're going to meet Ariella. You guys are kindred spirits. You guys are going to totally connect. And we're going to do cool stuff, whatever that means, wherever it takes us. This weekend, as a total aside, we take people on plant medicine journeys. We call them Kabbalah journeys, Jewish mysticism journeys. And we have a couples one this weekend where we're taking 6 couples on a Kana journey into the Kabbalistic experience of Shabbat. So stay tuned. We're going to reach out to you and you're going to come on some journeys or do something interesting.
Amazing.
Yeah. Thank you, Melody.
Thank you.
Do you have a place where people can get a hold of you and learn more about you? Website?
Oh, it's very simple. It's just my name, melodywho.com.
Doesn't get any easier than that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, out of all the Melody Who's, really? I got the domain? Yay.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And let's figure out where we go next.
Baruch, toda rabba.
Bavakasha.